Hello and welcome to the I did it again, Wes. I said FBL.
FPL.
It's FPL. It's the FPL Double Up podcast. So welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. It's great to see a few in the comments already. Some regulars. N Lim, Jeremy's there. Rich P, Jim Donnelly, Anik Palmer, Trev K, Stein, and Fricky. Best blokes on YouTube, says Fricky. I'll take that.
Yes, Fricky. Yes.
Two beautiful human beards. I like that as well.
Yeah, very
Jeremy
good.
calls us friends. Some beautiful comments in there. But Wes, how's your week been?
Yeah, pretty good. FPL wise, we're going to get onto your team in a minute, aren't we? But we know, little spoiler alert, you had a bit of a storm back, which is good. And I had a very minor red arrow, but yeah, all good.
Yeah, it's one of those. I mean, it happened to me last season. I was like 3 millionth after like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And then I hit a peak of, I think, about 5k and finished in 22. I was saying to you, I think it's kind of become my thing. I was, 2 or 3 millionth after game week 1 or 2 there with my Chris Wood debacle. And now, I'm by no means back, but I'm in the top million. And I mean, I half my rank for the last 2 weeks in a row, more or less. So it's great when that happens like that.
And I saw a tweet earlier from a guy called Matt, FPL Obsessed. He's got a book actually, but yeah, he tweeted about I think he's around where you are, John, like 728k I think he was, and he basically put up a tweet sort of saying how close he is to the top 100k, and I think he was only like 36 points, so kind of 12 points above the average for 3 weeks in a row or something along those lines. You'll be back in the top 100k, and it's still so early doors, and the big jumps you've got, John, just prove that you could literally get up to where I am in 1 big week. So all good.
Like, half of these players won't be here in 3 months, on top of the whole ghost teams or whatever, we'll definitely, I'm not worried one bit at all. Top 10k is 100% the goal. I hit it last season and I was in a worse position than this. I didn't finish in it, but I did get there. Lots of great people commenting away there. Matt Bryan saying sorry about the swearing sweepstake comment. I've just been enlightened. It's not that I can't swear because of coming across a bit rude. It's because of ads and stuff. It really affects everything here on, like, I can't just come in here and start effing and blinding, so I'm going to try my best. We'll see how your sweepstake goes, Matt. Ashel's there on his wild card. Annex in the comments. Maverick, I like the name. Cathal McHale. Kyan, I've never seen that name. Kyan, I think. Yeah, nice. But yeah, John likes when I say now, so there we go. Wes, what do you want to do first? Will we have a look at our teams? We'll be a bit self-indulgent this week.
Have a look at our teams, yeah.
Yeah, we'll do it. So we're going to jump over here. And actually, I think first up, this is the most iconic duo in FPL. It's Wes and his little water bottle. Do you want to give us a... That's from FPL Punk.
Yeah, this tweet made us laugh, didn't it? With every stream I do. I don't know why, I just have to... I get like not a bad throat, but just need water constantly when I'm talking, so...
I'm telling you.
There it is.
I said you looked like that guy Hugo off Love Island, and Love Island, they're never done with those water bottles, because you know whenever you're at a party and you're not drinking and you feel a bit awkward and you feel like you need to have something in your hand.
Yeah. That's
what I feel it does, and not necessarily for you now, but in Love Island they're all sitting there and they can't drink, so they have to drink their water just to kind of fill awkward silences. Yeah. So I hope that's not why you have it. We don't have too many awkward silences.
I'm just getting nice and cleansed.
Hydrated.
That's the word, yeah.
Do you want to do your team or mine first?
Bring mine up.
Right. Yours is on the screen now, so do you want to talk us through it?
Cool, yeah. So, obviously last week I took the -4, which is something I try and avoid hits, generally speaking, where I can. But I took the -4 because I wouldn't have been able to field 3 defenders if not. So a -4 was for Luca Dean. He only got 2 points, so it's a -2, but it's always worth getting that extra player in rather than guarantee myself 0 points with, I think it was Simicast there before. So it's always worth it, especially he had a nice fixture at home to Burnley. Could have got a clean sheet or an attacking return there. I also thought about Keane I know everyone says this after someone's done well, but I did have Keane in originally who got a goal. So that's one of those frustrating ones where if I'd have just stuck with it, hit confirmed transfers, I'd have actually got some points. But it is what it is. It always happens over the course of the season. When you get it right, if Luca Dean would have outscored Keane, then I don't even remember having Keane in one of my drafts. So it's just one of those. Other than that, like I say, I'm doing okay so far this season. I dropped from 122k to 132k, so I don't really see that as a It's not a proper red arrow where it's a really bad week. It's just a bog standard average week, isn't it? And yeah, fairly happy with my team. Not happy with the bench. Tony is on borrowed time. Antonio will be my transfer out this week. And we'll get on to replacements later, won't we? And other than that, fairly happy with Lukaku captaincy. Fairly jammy in terms of he got that last second goal that took him from, that was a big jump for a captain to score in that last minute. So fairly, and he ended up matching Ronaldo, which was, I guess it's not fortunate just because he scored in the last minute, but it feels a little bit lucky, doesn't it, if you know what I mean?
No, I think a couple of things just on what you said there. I think Lukaku, he looks amazing. I watched a good bit of that, and I mean the finishing, it's all there. I don't think it's luck, but I mean it is definitely relief. Whenever Ronaldo did that early, all Lukaku owners instead of Ronaldo were sweating, but it came through. They matched each other's points. The other thing is on Tony, and again, this is a kind of non-FPL observation. Whatever about an FPL player, because we know there's difference between a good player and a good FPL player. I thought he looked really sharp last week. He made, we had that, he nearly chipped the keeper from 40 yards out. It was a decent effort. There was a wee dummy run he made, let the ball run through to Mbuemo. He had a couple of nice sort of link-up plays and nice moves. I thought he looked really, really sharp, but will he have the sting that is needed for an FPL forward?
Yes, exactly. So I want to 1,000,000% back you up on that, and I've said that in the week leading up to this on in various WhatsApp groups that I'm in. That chip that he nearly did was such a sick effort, and that link-up play that you just mentioned, assists should be inbound for Tony, and at his price of I think he's down to 6.3 now. He is still a good option. The reason I wanted to explain why I just said he's on borrowed time, it's more for the fact of if I wanted to get Ronaldo in there, maybe free up some money and get someone like a Ronaldo, it's kind of going to be maybe Tony that makes way. I know it's a big leap in terms of pounds and readjusting that, and I do think Tony has some. I haven't given up hope on Tony. He's got one more good fixture this week, and I can't remember his fixtures off the top of my head, but I think they turn pretty poor after this week as well. So that's also my thinking. But yeah, I feel a bit hard done by with Tony over the course of the season. Only 1 goal in 4 games. He almost got that assist in the Arsenal game week 1, that if you remember. And like you just said, John, that game that he's just played looked very good and almost didn't necessarily deserve a goal because there wasn't a lot of shots in the box or anything. But those link-up plays for assists, I feel like he deserved at least 1 assist in that game.
Yeah, I thought he looked sharp enough. But I mean, your team in general, there's a nice bit of balance there. There's a lot going on. Is your bench a concern for you?
It is, yeah. Brownhill is at least starting games now. He didn't start game week 1, but has started all 3 after then. Had a decent chance against Everton, so he's okay as a bench option. Pretty poor, but he's just about hanging in there as an okay option. Whereas my bench defenders, Feminir and Amati, are non-entities at the minute, especially Amati. He's lost his place. Feminir has had injury concerns, so maybe if he can return to fitness over the next couple of weeks, it at least gives me a bench playing option. I don't really want to be -4ing. I've got that Antonio issue, so I don't want to take out Antonio and then one of my sub-defenders just to make my bench a bit stronger. I'd rather just risk it and hope Luka Dean and Trent keep playing and don't get rested or something, and hopefully I can get away with it in the short term. But yeah, long term I definitely want, if I was wildcarding, like you've wildcarded, haven't you, I'd definitely be having the likes of Livramento, who's cheap but a really good option. I'd be having the likes of maybe a Duffy or a Semedo or something like that. So my bench defenders will be a lot stronger once I wildcard.
Just to say to everyone in the comments, look, I see a few questions coming in. By all means, keep asking them, and maybe people in the comments will help you out. But we're going to do a quick question section at the end, so we probably won't be answering them throughout. We've a lot to cover. And the other thing that we didn't mention, Wes, is if people are interested in joining Fantasy Football Hub, we're going to show some good graphics from it later. There's a link in the description. You'll support us if you use that link. So if you're going to sign up, do use that link. It would be much, much appreciated. So Wes, is there anything else in your team? I think it's all. It's out there now. We'll flick over to mine and see how yours. See how I got on.
Yeah, this is interesting because this is going to be a wild card. Remind us, John, was it wild card last week or the week before?
It was a wild card, yeah. So wild card played 77 points. Had Sanchez in goal, Shaw, Luka Dean, and Cody came in for Calvert-Lewin. So Cody got me 6 points. I was happy with that. Nice. Trent with the 12 points, which is obviously nice. Salah vice captain. I brought in Gray, who got the goal. Torres and Ben Rama were both subbed off, I think, just after 60 minutes. So I wasn't too happy there. But look, it is what it is. Ronaldo captain, happy with that, and Antonio with the red card. Now, I've Livramento there on the bench, but it leaves me in that predicament that every manager's in. It's the whole Antonio, Calvert-Lewin, Bamford thing. So I'm kind of like in a position where I think the wise choice is to get rid of Calvert-Lewin because he's actually injured. Is Bamford the replacement? Is it Jimenez? Is it whoever? I have nothing in the bank. I haven't actually checked Jimenez's price. Bamford's the only one who's been on my mind all week.
Yeah,
but I'm going to need convincing, and we'll get to that.
Yeah, exactly. Just on your team, like you said, John, we will get to that. 2 things just to note on your team. I'll say this sort of quickly because I don't want to dwell on it now. I wonder if you could. There's almost a tactic where you could. I'm not saying -4 straight after wildcard, but you could almost do Calvert-Lewin and Antonio to the likes of Lukaku and a cheap striker, maybe, just as a consideration for those people who have got both. And just moving on from that point very quickly, Gray is a really interesting, a very good pick. I think there's a few good options at that sort of in between 5.5 and 5.8 million or whatever Gray is now mark. There's Gray, there's Decore from Everton, who's doing really well. He's kind of in a different role this year where he's not like just like a number 10 floating around at front, but he is box to box and he's getting into the box, creating chances and having shots. So he could be another good option from Everton if you maybe can't quite afford Gray or if you just fancy Decore over him. And there's also Conor Gallagher as well. So that's why I think we had a question right at the start of this where it was about, squeezing in those 3 premiums, Ronaldo, Lukaku and Salah. So if you wanted to do that, not you personally, John, but anyone listening, the way to do that is the likes of Gray, Decore and Gallagher, maybe 2 of those 3 can help you achieve that if that's something you wanted to do. Yeah,
because I've been thinking like I've wildcarded now and I'm kind of thinking, I wish I had another wild card because there's players here I'd love to change.
It's always the way, yeah.
It's literally, I'd love another wild card because I'd love to maybe go down from Benrahma. Torres, again, it's the pep roulette thing. I mean, he looks...
It's frustrating.
I'm kind of like, maybe I could do the whole freemium bit or I could do something a bit different. But anyway, look, we'll roll with the punches. We'll keep it moving.
Yeah. And just on that, I've just glanced at a comment and seen why this love for Luca Dean, because we both, possibly because we both got him, John. And it's a good question. I brought him in because I looked at the fixtures. He had 3 good fixtures in a row. Started off with Burnley at home. I backed kind of Rafa Benitez to get clean sheets. And I was kind of thinking, Luca Dean, he's the most expensive out of the Everton defenders, but he feels a little bit more nailed on than the likes of, say, a Coleman or a Keane, because there's maybe competition at centre back and right back. Whereas with Luca Dean, he's definitely nailed on. That was my thinking. I guess he's got. I think he's taken. I'm pretty sure I looked this up. I could be wrong. He's taken. I think Andros Townsend has maybe taken the odd one, but he's taken virtually every corner for Everton as well. So there should be assists incoming there. And you've got his fixture now. They're pretty decent. And obviously, when we brought him in, John, he also had Burnley at home, so we was fairly unfortunate not to get something there, I think. Yeah,
I mean the Calvert-Lewin injury is definitely going to affect Dean's output, you would imagine. I mean, for me, I'm going to roll with it. Villa, Norwich, definitely give him that Norwich game.
Yeah.
And then I'll reassess. I mean, it's not exactly the biggest fire that needs fought in my team. Not that there's too many, but I mean, I'm not going to pencil anything in. I'm just going to leave him there, give him Villa, give him Norwich, see what happens. I'm not like hell bent on Lucas Dean. Like I'm by no means.
Same, yeah. We're not trying to. Yeah, we're not convincing anyone to bring him in. We had logic bringing him in for 3 good fixtures, and can see why people are anti him or whatever. But yeah, it's a solid strategy bringing him in for 3 solid fixtures, and let's see if it works out. He's good history in the game in FPL in general as an assist threat, and he had good fixtures. So it's all great now in hindsight saying he hasn't done much over the last few weeks. Yeah, but I mean, he could have got anything, and there's a couple of good fixtures to come. Yeah, John, quick tangent on that. It's just interesting. I was literally speaking to someone about this earlier on today about how much weight we put on that sort of FPL history. So, and again, we're going to get onto Bamford and his form. Just as an example, and this is more general, his form so far this season is 1 goal, 1 assist in 4 games. Not blistering form, but it's okay considering he's played both Liverpool and Man United. So he's got his returns in his easier games as such, and the easier games are upcoming now. And not so much, I'm considering Bamford not so much for this season's form, more for he's proved it to me last year. He got 17 goals, 11 assists, I think it was last year. I see him as a proven asset. And likewise with someone like Salah, if Salah blanks for a few games, I'm still thinking, no, this is Salah. He's a good FPL pick. We know what we're getting from him. Whereas there's some players in the game, aren't they, that, someone maybe like a Gallagher who I'm liking at the minute.
Edward,
they've got potential. You could gamble on them, and I've been a big advocate of someone like Gallagher, and I know he's got Premier League experience at West Brom last year. Maybe your example of Edouard's better. There's certain players we know what we're getting with, and there's certain gambles, and it's not to say don't take these certain gambles, but it's just an interesting point about when you're making your transfer decision and your captaincy decisions, think about their FPL history. I do think it's important.
Yeah, it's just one of those. I think like it's hard, even though Edouard comes on and does what he does, and he's obviously rated very, very highly in European football. Like, and I think he had a decent track record at Celtic or wherever. But like, it's hard to justify getting him over the likes of Bamford, who was so proven in the Premiership. Like, could Edouard have those 2 goals and then go on a run of 6 games without doing anything? I mean, I'm not saying it's likely. I'm just saying I think it's harder to put your faith in someone who's unproven in the FPL world. Again, it goes back to that. There's good players and there's good FPL players. Someone could be a world beater, but I mean, maybe time will prove whether. I mean, Edouard isn't a great example for that because, I mean, he's a goal scorer. But, I mean, in other players, there will be midfielders who you're kind of like, oh, maybe he looks class, but he's not going to get me the points. But anyway, I think I've looked at my team for long enough. Wes, I see Buna there injecting in the comments, which is nice to see. The man who eats the tastiest food in FPL. But, what else? Were we going to whip up a bit of a conversation about Bamford? Yeah,
let's do that. And so, it can be... Yeah, go on.
Do you want to look at the fixtures first, or do you want to look at him first?
Bring the fixtures up but don't bring it up too long because the fixtures are still on Bamford's graphic as well.
So I have them up here.
Yeah, it's mainly what we're going to be talking about rather than the graphics aren't anything much. But Bamford. Obviously, Leeds fixtures are turning good. Like I just said, he's got a return in his 2 easier games of the season so far, rather than obviously blanking against United and blanking against Liverpool, which for me is kind of fine because it shows that maybe I'm cherry picking, but it kind of shows that he's in form against the lesser teams. Form is maybe the wrong word, but he's got pedigree in those lesser games as such, and Newcastle are conceding goals. West Ham have obviously started really well, but even in some of the games they've won, I know they're just off the back of a 0-0, but before then they were conceding goals, so they're not watertight at the back. Likewise with Watford at home, followed by Southampton, Wolves and Norwich. I mean, can't really get a better fixture run than that, can you, John? I mean, it's very good for 6 games.
I don't think, let me actually check. Maybe I'm just being an idiot, but I'm 99% sure he hasn't had the best start to the season in terms of output, has he?
That's what I was just saying. One goal, 1 assist.
Yeah, sorry, I zoned out for a second. I was looking at some stats.
Yeah, we were talking about this off air that me and John, neither of us can do.
We
don't hear the other person talking if we're trying to do anything else.
Like if I'm trying to prepare what to follow you with, I'm not listening to you. Do you know? But like for Bamford, do you know, obviously they've had United, they've had Liverpool, they have had a couple of okay fixtures, but like 1 goal, 1 assist isn't what we know, but it comes back to that trust thing. And with a fixture run like this, Leeds being who Leeds are, their all-out attack sort of approach, Bielsa ball and Bamford, with a fixture list like this, I think it's very hard to justify if you're just doing that sideways pivot from Calvert-Lewin or Antonio. It's hard to justify anyone else unless you're going budget to try and allow a Lukaku, allow another premium. So I do think my move this week is probably going to be Calvert-Lewin, roll Antonio over. I've said roll about 7 times for some reason, but Bamford is the logical replacement, I think, for me.
And it's almost like you can squeeze in both Ronaldo and Lukaku and still have a good draft. But I think I said this last week before we knew about Calvert-Lewin's injury, but it still applies to say Bamford now. I mean, I can easily, maybe this sounds mental, but I can see Bamford in these next 6 fixtures matching the likes of Ronaldo and Lukaku, who have maybe more of a mixed bag fixtures wise. Not match, maybe not point for point, but for however much money you're saving, what is it, 4 million-ish? I don't know, but you know what I mean. I think, he can there or thereabouts match those boys, and you know, I will probably go without Ronaldo until I say probably, you know, things change, until I wildcard. And like I said, if I bring Bamford in, then I've got those 6 fixtures. And yeah, I do back him to come close to those premium guys with those fixtures.
Yeah. So look, there's his fixtures. We'll drop them down, whip up Bamford just have a look at the man that we're speaking of.
Yeah.
The fixture there, 7.9 million. He's definitely going to be. I could probably check now how much he's been transferred in this week, but I'd say the numbers are pretty big.
Yeah, I think he's in 14%, or roughly speaking, around 14-15% of teams in the overall game. That's not always the best indicator looking at the percentage selected by, because we already probably have dead teams who picked him game week 1 and haven't looked at their team. So, but yeah, it shows that he is in people's thoughts now because of this fixture, because of content creators like us. I'm seeing, we picked him for our thumbnail, John, and I'm seeing all over YouTube now. Everyone's picked the same image or similar one of Bamford. So yeah, and I guess we should be also talking about Rafinha in this context as well, because obviously this is a bit of a Bamford section, but it is about Leeds fixtures. And if you've got a problem in midfield and your strikers are fine, it's all about fixing problems. So yeah, if your strike force is Ronaldo, Lukaku, and Jimenez already, for example, you probably don't need to be making a Bamford move this week. But you might have a problem in midfield where you've got, I don't know, a Benrahma you want to take out or whatever it might be. And therefore, you can take this section as we're talking about both Bamford and Rafinha, because Rafinha could be a really good option, potentially moving into number 10, John, with Dan James coming in on the wing. There's some talk of that. I don't know if it will come to fruition or if Dan James will just remain as a bench player or something, but that would make him more appealing if he gets more central, I guess.
Do you think, is the double up, if you already own one, could you get the other? Is the double up siren noise, because that's our name, the FPL double up? Wah, wah, wah. Double up. Is it?
We haven't done that in a while, have we?
I haven't done that in a while. We mean to keep doing that every time we say double up.
Yeah, do it every week to annoy people.
Do you know what? It's from that show, Superstore, and I watched it on Netflix, and I actually thought it was pretty shit after a while. I mean, there's some funny characters in it, and it was kind of funny, but there was one kid in it who just kept going like, wah, 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 and being really annoying, and that's what I'm trying to do. But anyway, if you already owned Rafinha, say, in midfield, you're having the Calvert-Lewin, Antonio, Hemorrhage, or whatever, you're having an issue, is the double up something you'd consider? Or would it turn you off?
Yeah, and I am seeing this with people having Rafinha, and also some people also have, say, Ayling there in their defence, so they've already got 2 leads, and it's almost like they're adding that third leads. I do always, and everyone should do this in terms of when you think about players, it's almost goalkeeper and defence come as a package, and then midfielders and forwards come as a package because of obviously how they score points. So it's not a triple up in Leeds attack if you've got Ayling. However, yeah, it does play into it because Leeds haven't started as well as we'd have liked. It is maybe a little bit of a punt to go for the double up in attack with Rafinha and Bamford when they're not playing that well. That might be a bit safe. If you wanted to go for it, it could really pay dividends. But if you are in that situation, then it maybe makes Raul Jimenez a better prospect. It depends on your appetite for, things like doubling up and tripling up, and players can, when it works, it really propels you up the ranks. So I don't want to put anyone off it, but yeah, it's a consideration, and it's just an interesting point overall that you brought up there, John, about if you've already got Rafinha, whether to double up, because it's almost like when you're watching content like this, you've got to, just because we're bigging up Bamford, it doesn't mean he's right for your team. If your 3 strikers are already performing and you've got a defence and midfield that are a state, then sort out your problems first and go for, like I said, like a Rafinha or an Ayling to get those Leeds players in rather than Bamford. Does that make sense?
It does. I need to bounce quickly with just the dog walkers here. You can tell people about that. I'm going to pull up the Trent Salah graphic for you.
Okay, yeah, I'll talk about that in terms of. Someone's just said pressing the like button, it's free and it shows appreciation. So yes, please do that whilst John is off sorting out his dog walker. So in terms of captaincy this week, I think it's an interesting one. I do think Salah has got the best fixture. Liverpool has the best fixture. But in terms of and automatically, it's for myself as well. It's almost like, Liverpool best fixture. Let's put the captaincy on Salah. Sorry, but you see this graphic here where the last 15 games, who scored more points? You'll see Trent there is performing slightly better than Salah over that. It's pretty neck and neck. I think it's 8. Let me just count them up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Only 6 for Salah. So yeah, Trent is outscoring Salah often. So maybe we need to, we always, a general rule of thumb in FPL is to captain a premium midfielder or a premium forward every week. Very rarely does anyone captain a defender. Whereas maybe we need to challenge our own thinking, challenge our own biases. And if we'd have captained Trent in those game weeks over Salah, then he'd have outscored him more often than Salah, than the other way around. So, and with Trent's current form, looking very good. He's looking back to his best now. Going Trent over Salah could work this week. I don't think I'll do it, just being honest. But I do think it's a very viable strategy, and it's not a stupid move going for Trent over Salah. So yeah, it's definitely a viable option. And another point on captaincy. There's almost say for example this week I have my premiums are sort of Salah and Lukaku. I could go for Lukaku, and Lukaku could outscore Salah, but I'm feeling this year I want to just play it safe. Over the course of 38 game weeks, I think it's going to work out much better going for that home fixture, because we know home advantage is back now. Going for that easier fixture, and as long as a premium player is in form, it should work out. John, you're back. Just what you missed was I was basically talking about how, a general rule of thumb, and one I follow as well, rightly or wrongly, is to kind of captain a midfielder or forward pretty much every week. But this just shows that Trent's outscored Salah in a lot of those game weeks, and could that be a viable strategy moving forward?
Do you know what it is for me, Wes? I feel more comfortable captaining the midfielder or forward, because the issue with captaining a defender is that your clean sheet can be wiped out in 30 seconds.
Yeah.
And it's heartbreak, and then you're just clutching for that attack in return. Whereas I feel with the midfielders and forwards, you've got that thrill of the chase of the captaincy points right up to the final whistle. Now Trent is kind of a weirdo because he kind of may as well be a midfielder.
Yeah.
And he has the bonus of like the clean sheet potential. So Trent is actually, I think, a great captaincy option. It just is a ballsy move. But I mean, if we look at this season so far, what he scored, 6-12, 4-12, I mean, that's 2 double-digit hauls you would have had captains on.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's a ballsy one, especially when Salah in this debate has the penalties. But I find it hard to captain a defender. I really do.
I do as well, but like you say, Trent is like an anomaly where he is that attacking, where we could maybe consider him. Yeah, just to put it out there, I don't think there's any other defender in the game that I would captain, unless it's
John Stones, in a double game week.
I was actually literally just about to say that example of maybe a Man City double game week when no one else had a double game week, and we only knew that the defenders were the ones nailed on, or something like that. I did it in a single game week one season. I think it was 2 seasons ago, away at Watford. I went Trent over Salah. I think they both blanked in the end. But yeah, I think Watford actually scored 2 that day. So the second goal also affects the defender as well, because they go down to them 1 point, which is just even more demoralising. So yeah, it does take big balls to do it. But like this graphic shows, if you'd have done it for those last 15 games, it would have worked out more often than it didn't. But what I would say is probably best, if that's going to be your strategy, you kind of have to, for me, in my opinion, you almost have to commit to it for a season for it to work out. Because do you actually? I don't know. What I'm trying to say. I know
what you mean. You can pick and choose, but it's very hard to pick and choose. Yeah,
because then if you go Trent this week and then Salah outscores, and then you flip it back to Salah and Trent, it's just going to really annoy you, and you're going to be thinking, why didn't I captain Trent last week? Whereas because I always captain that midfielder or forward. If Trent goes ahead and outscores Salah this game week, I'm not going to be kicking myself, because it was never a true consideration. Whereas if you flip-flop between tactics and strategies, it's just going to cause a mental headache. And if I get a bad game week, I want to still feel happy about my decisions I've made, if that makes sense.
It's like the premiums. Like if you go flip-flopping between Ronaldo and Lukaku every other week, you're going to catch some, you're going to miss some. And I mean, it's all about that. It's about luck. Well, no, there's a lot of skill involved. You can be looking at the fixtures and analysing them. I get that. But at the same time, you could catch Lukaku's 2 goals and then he blanks next week, and you've brought in Ronaldo who gets a hat-trick. Equally, you could catch them both on blanks. So there's just that, it's that variation. Whereas if you just stick to your guns, pick who you think's going to score the most over the next 3 weeks, it's almost easier. And the other thing we don't like is burning transfers for transfer's sake. I know this is a different conversation now, Wes, than Salah and Trent, because you'd have both them, and it's just a captaincy pick. Transfers aren't in the equation, but I'm kind of transitioning it into that whole you pick your horse and you stick with it, in many ways.
Make your bed and lay it. Yeah, I'm all for that. I'm happy if you want to plan out Lukaku's fixtures turn in game week 7 for the better, for example. So if you wanted, say, Ronaldo for 3 or 4 weeks and then to transition to Lukaku for 4 or 5 weeks, then I'm fine with something like that. It's when I hear people saying that they're going to transfer in, they're going to go from Antonio to Bamford this week and then straight back to Antonio as soon as his suspension's lifted. If you want Antonio longer term, bench him this game week, transfer in, sort out your bench players and play them this week. That's an option I could have done. I could have improved my bench, played 4-4-2 and brought Antonio back in, but I've made the decision, or I'm going to make the decision in terms of taking Antonio out for my reasons, and I'm not going to flip-flop back to Antonio the very next week. If he gets points, I think he bounces back in with two nice fixtures. Good luck to him. He's probably going to score points, but that's just, you can't have your cake and eat it sort of thing.
Yeah. No, I agree. You know what's funny, Wes? I haven't actually asked anyone to like this video yet, and it's been like 32 minutes, so it's time to call people out.
Yeah.
Did you do it when I was away, maybe?
Someone in the comments had said about it, so I kind of reiterated that and go, thanks, but it was already fairly high, so thanks a lot for everyone liking so far. Just do a quick call. I just got a nip off as well for 1 minute, John.
Ooh. Okay, no worries, Wes. I'll try and hold the show. So basically, what's happened here is there's 400 and something of you, and only 58 people have liked it, which means there's like 350 freeloaders. But genuinely, if you can, turn your phone aside, minimize the chat, hit the like button, subscribe to Hub's channel for great content, better content than me and Wes, to be honest with you. But like the video if you can. It lets Will know that you're enjoying this content, and he'll keep us around a bit longer. Equally, I've been given out to in the comments there for not walking my dog. What's actually happening is I'm working a 12-hour shift today, 8 to 8, and I'm on my break at the minute doing a live stream, so I'm going straight back to work. I have to jump off this in 12 minutes, straight back to work. I have no time to walk the wee doggy, and he's a very active boy, so he needs to get out. FPL tips in the comments. The interesting thing in this stat on screen, what's the total points over that time? And I was thinking that because when Trent outscores, I imagine it's not by a lot, but Salah could greatly outscore, and that's what it's about, I suppose. It's a good point, Wes, that you're just back in time for that kind of Trent and Salah debate. The captaincy's great, who scores more? I mean, but what's the peak? Do you know what's the higher upside? A Salah captain where he gets a hat-trick, or does Trent have the higher upside? I think Trent might win more often because Salah will blank occasionally and Trent will get a clean sheet or get an assist. But will Salah hit double digits more often than Trent? And it may be hard for us to find out right now, based on the limited data of this season. Finding last season's data might be tough on that, but it is an important point to that graphic, and I suppose it is an important caveat.
Yeah, and it's interesting with... in terms of, it depends how you play. Like we both have said it many times in the past, John, that we don't play like this. But if you factor in, how much your rank could be hurt by if you went for Trent who blanked and Salah got a hat trick, for example, the vast majority of players will be on Salah. Your rank will plummet. And if you're the type of player who wants to play the first half of the season, consolidating your rank and not taking too many risks, and you are factoring in that sort of stuff, then Salah is obviously the no-brainer in this example.
Well, I'd be going with Salah there. I'm probably not going to pick Trent, but it is an interesting conversation.
It is an interesting one, and it's not one of those. If I saw someone doing it on a random defender who wasn't as good as Trent, I'd say it was stupid. But if someone came and said, "I'm captaining Trent this week," I'd say good choice, as good as anyone.
Speaking of captaincy, we'll have that sort of captaincy debate. I mean, for me, I think I did have it on Ronaldo when I kind of set the team earlier in the week, but now that I'm looking at it again, I kind of fancy Salah at home to Palace. I just think Ronaldo's the other side of that argument. But
yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's similar. I haven't got Ronaldo. I've got Lukaku, who has got a tougher fixture, so it's easier for me. But yeah, I just feel like week to week, it's gonna be hard to predict. But Crystal Palace are a weaker team than West Ham, and home advantage and all that sort of stuff. So that's why, if even in your position, I would still go Salah, and it won't be right every single game week, but over the course of, like I keep saying, over the course of hopefully 38 game weeks, maybe 8 or 9 times you get it wrong, but the majority of the time you get it right, which will make your captaincy picks over the course of the season higher than the average Joe.
I think with Ronaldo, it can't be understated that West Ham is a tough fixture. West Ham are a great team at the minute. Might have tired legs from that game that was last night they played. Declan Rice scored a great goal in Europe, but
I need to catch up on the highlights of that.
Yeah, Declan Rice's goal was solid. Ran from his own half, albeit I think he only had about 2 men to take on. It wasn't a Messi type goal, but I mean, it was still an outstanding finish. But yeah, do you know, I don't know, Ronaldo there, it's a tough fixture. Whereas Crystal Palace, yes, okay, we're a little bit recency bias there off last week where they beat, it was an Arsenal they played?
Spurs, didn't they?
Spurs. I knew it was some London team who's doing shitter than they should. But yeah, they beat Spurs, sorry, and you know, Edouard with his 2 goals, whatever else. I just think there's that recency bias. We're all going to think, oh, Palace are a tough fixture. Bottom line is, it's Liverpool at home to Palace. You know, Salah should be in with a good chance of getting a goal or two. Like you'd like to think. You would like to think.
Yeah, I want to keep it as nice and simple as I can this year. That's my strategy. So I'm not going to flip flop to doing a Trent one or doing a random sort of thing. Keep it, and then I'll be happy each week. Do you know what I mean? Like I keep saying, if I'm happy with my decisions, then the outcome doesn't matter as much, and I can just. And then at the end of the season, if it didn't work out as a strategy, then maybe I'll readjust next season. But yeah, that's my season-long strategy. That's
the big thing, I think, and that's a little tangent on the psychology of FPL before we maybe take a couple of questions. But it's that. And it's something we've always preached, even when we did the podcast in pure podcast form. It was about, like, if the decision's good, you can sleep easy. Whatever happens, happens. Do you know? But if the decision's good, and that's maybe why I kicked myself after maybe the start of the season, because my first game week, there's no doubt that the Chris Wood was a terrible decision. It was one of those where I kind of... Well, look, I know I'm not going to get into defending it. It was a bad decision. I had last season's biases. If you looked at the preseason, whatever else, it was a poor decision. And I kicked myself about that one a wee bit. But there's other decisions you make in FPL that you can have the best fixtures in the world, the form looks good, you look up at a mismatch on the left or whatever and you think this guy's going to do well over the next few weeks, and it just doesn't work out. But if the decision making's sound, who cares? That's FPL.
Yeah, exactly. Like Antonio got sent off this week. It's not a bad decision having Antonio because he was a great pick. And likewise, I think you had DCL. You didn't know he was injured. Again, a great pick. Nothing to kick yourself about there. And like you said, we've all made decisions over the years where I'm very critical of myself. Like you just said, I will look back and think, was that a mistake? And everyone makes lots. Like I've had really good ranks over the last few years, but I have also in those seasons made multiple mistakes.
Remember the big mistake last season?
No, what was that, John?
There was one big mistake you made last season.
Yeah, the old bench boost, which was...
The bench boost was a travesty, that was bad.
It's hard to learn from that, though. It's just learn to remember to click one extra button, I guess. Click save. So stupid. Luckily, it worked out all right in the end in terms of the overall rank, so I just kind of put it to bed for that reason. But yeah, maybe I'd have done better. Maybe I'd have done worse, who knows? But yeah, at the time, that was horrific, and I felt awful about that. And then just a quick, we won't dwell on mistakes too much, but yeah, one I remember that sticks out from last season for me was I had both Lookman and Souček in my team, and I was rotating them based on fixture and form, and West Ham were at home to Fulham, so I really should have picked Souček to start that game over Lookman, and the outcome ended up screwing as well because Souček scored in the 89th minute, and then Lookman missed a penalty in like the 89th, so it was a big point swing. And it was when I deserved to not get the points because I made the mistake there. I should have picked the home fixture, really. I should have picked Souček, who was, a better option than Lookman over the course of the season as well. So it was borderline decision, but I would class that as a slight mistake. So I deserve to get screwed over the points as well.
Well, Wes, look, I'm going to have to bounce in 5 minutes, but if people want to throw a couple of questions into the comments, we're not going quick fire this week based on time, but if you answer a couple, we'll see if any of them jump out. Wes, keep your eye. If there's any you want to answer, go for it. And then just to thank everyone for, there's been about 100 likes since I cried for them, so thank you for that. Please. Fucking YouTubers these days, what the fuck? Oh, I can't say that word. What the fuck is what I actually said there. Jeez, that was close.
That was close.
It was close. But yeah. Right, any questions? Well, we've only got about 5 minutes, but...
Yeah, okay, so I'll see this one. Is it worth the extra 0.4 million for Semedo over Marcal? Good question, and I think it is. Semedo looked really threatening in the last game. I think, and stats-wise, they back up as well. It's like 2 big chances he recorded. I think I haven't got them to hand, but some shots in the box and all that good stuff. Maybe you could argue that he's not a clinical finisher, etc., but... I think Marcal's assists were relatively lucky. I know Marcal's getting a lot of crosses in, but that's all he's got over Semedo is the crosses. So, yeah, if I do prefer Semedo over Marcal if you can afford it and it doesn't affect the rest of your team.
Yeah, I mean, if you're doing a double transfer and that 0.4 or whatever will go
exactly,
go well elsewhere. I mean, it's very individual, that question in many ways, but I do agree with you. I think Semedo looked very high up the pitch. He looked very attacking, and I loved his wee pass into Podence, who had a lovely dummy. Do you remember for the goal?
Yeah.
Lovely dummy cross, and then obviously Juan got it over the line.
Yeah.
Would you go with Barnes on a wild card? Barnes scored a goal and got an assist there against Napoli last night. Looked brilliant, great finish. Is Barnes coming back into your thoughts in any way, or Leicester and their fixtures or whatever? Just
I don't know. It's a bit of a recency bias where I feel like I got burnt with him game weeks 1 and 2 when he transferred him out and he's done nothing since. I don't know. I feel like 6.8 million for Barnes. Could you get a better, cheaper option in the likes of Gallagher, Decore, someone like that, or even someone like Rafinha with better fixtures, similar price, a little bit cheaper again, and then use that money elsewhere? So for me, it's probably a no. It's not a firm no where it's like a terrible shout or anything like that, because we know Harvey Barnes' potential. He did well for me last season, etc., etc. But I just think in the current state of play, he's currently a no for me.
If I had him, I'd keep him for a week or two personally, but I wouldn't be getting him in the wild card or anything.
Yeah, he wouldn't be in a wild card draft for me, no.
He isn't like get him out. He's not that bad. But no. I mean, I've been burnt last season when he got injured. I just brought him in on a wild card. I think my second wild card or something. Yeah. Or maybe I even took a hit to get him in. But I remember last season I got him in. He got injured. That's not his fault. And I think I might have had him. Did I have him on my first team this season? Did I? I don't know. But he hasn't done great this season anyway.
There's another two questions I've seen, John, just before they go. I think I've seen this a couple of times. A couple of people said Jesus as captain, and then someone's also said Pookie thoughts as a differential. So let's try and remember those two questions. So Pookie has got decent fixtures coming up after a tough start, so it's hard to judge Pookie, and you can't really say Pookie and Norwich have got bad form because their fixtures have been so tough. I think it was Leicester City and Chelsea. Who was it? Can't remember now, but it's tough start if you look back, and therefore it's one of those where it's kind of a little bit like Leeds, Bamford and Bamford in a way, like and Rafinha. They haven't got blistering form. I think Pookie scored a penalty so far this year, but with the fixtures and the price and the money you can save on going to someone like Pookie, does that mean that you can then afford a Ronaldo, a Lukaku, a Salah, or whatever it might be? So yeah, I'm definitely not going to write off Pookie. And then should we chat about the Jesus as a captaincy option, John?
If you want, yeah, throw it out there. I do need to bounce in a second, so wrap us up with that maybe.
We'll wrap us up with that quickly then. I don't think it's a captaincy option. You can never guarantee who's going to start, and even if he does, for me, there's a better option in the likes of Salah, Trent, multiple better options. If you've got him, he's doing really well this season. Jesus, I haven't managed to squeeze him in or consider him, but if you've got him in your team, definitely keep him starting, but I wouldn't personally captain him.
I've said it before and I'll say it again. Pep is the best and worst thing ever to happen to FPL. He's the best because it adds variation to teams. He's the worst because I just don't pick any City players. And they're the best team in the league in terms of a point output. It's
such a shame, isn't it? And Grealish got a nice goal in the Champions League, and there will be points if you've got them. I think you've got Torres now, haven't you, John? And he could easily smash it in any given game week. But yeah, it's kind of, for how I'm playing City at the minute is like good when them players score points. It's almost like good luck to them. I don't want that. I don't want that Pep roulette stress myself. But if you can stomach it and you can ride out the odd blank here and there for the likes of a Torres or Jesus, then yeah, they can come good. And over the period of a 6-game period, you should get dividends from them. If that makes sense.
Absolutely. Well, Wes, look, I need to run. Everyone, look, thank you so much for joining us next week. Hopefully, actually, Wes, I'm away next week, Thursday to Sunday. I'm gone. So unless we do it Thursday morning or earlier in the week or skip a week or I don't know, we'll discuss that. We'll do our production meetings off air, but
follow us on Twitter, guys. Our handles are there. Yeah. They're in the description. Or just search us. It's easy to find us, and FFH_HQ on Twitter. And then you'll see tweets about the FPL Double Up podcast, and we'll make the time very clear as well. And you can turn notification on YouTube for Hub's channel, all that sort of stuff. So you won't miss it. And
the last one is, if you haven't signed up to Hub, if you're going to, which we'd recommend, use our link in the description of this video. It helps us big time. And like the video before you leave, because once you leave you're not coming back to like it, so do us a favour, otherwise Will kick us off the channel and say you aren't good enough, lads. People don't like you, so yeah, do us a favour. If you did like it, that is. If you didn't like it, just leave. You don't have to hit dislike.
Yeah.
But Wes, we'll